What would you say you do here?
It's the Signal Chords, home of the Underground podcast. A podcast dedicated to up-and-coming bands, labels, artists, and more. Plug in and join your host, Brad Nunnery, as he dives deep into what the future of music has to hold and discover something new along the way. What else do you have to do?
Hey, what's up? This is Josh with Feed the Right Wolf, and you're listening to Signal Chords, home of the Underground podcast.
That's the latest song and music video from our friends in Feed the Right Wolf. It's called Death Stare. Brand new music from those guys. Many thanks to Josh for recording that promo for us. Really do appreciate it, man. Now, the band is hard at work, working on some new material coming out later this year and possibly into the new year as well. Really killer stuff. They are a grunge alternative / shoegaze band based out of Virginia. And if you don't know, we've interviewed them in the past on season 1, episode 8 on YouTube. Right here. But if you want to find out more about the band, you can visit them on any social media platform at Feed the Right Wolf Band. What's up, everybody? My name is Brad Nunnery. Welcome to Signal Chords, home of the Underground podcast, season 2, episode 15, presented by my good friend Jeff Small over at 1603 Designs. My guest tonight is Rudy Nuño. He is a singer-songwriter based out of Los Angeles, California. Him and his band, The Broadcasters, just released a brand new song. It's called Serenity. They have a music video for it. We're going to get to it here in a second, but it's their first single on FUMIE Records. So I'm going to talk to him all about how he got that deal, all about the song, new music, possibly a new album in 2025, plus what it's like to live in Los Angeles, California and grow up there and how it shaped him as a singer-songwriter. We're also going to give you a little sample of his brand new song, Talking Tales, set to drop here in the next couple weeks. We're going to give you a little sample so you can hear it first before you hear it anywhere else. Of course, that's how we do it here. But right now, let's get into Serenity. It's on Signal Chords, home of the Underground podcast. Rudy Nuño, thank you so much for joining the podcast, man. So stoked to have you on board here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Brad. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be chatting with you.
Yeah, man. It's been a little while, but we just came out of your song Serenity. It's your brand new song. And the first time I heard it, I was like, wow, this is really, really incredible stuff. Serenity
Thank you.
is the first. It's the first single from the since the Golden Road EP, correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. It's the first recording we've done since then. It's the first of three, actually. We recorded three songs, so that was the first one, and put it out. Was it end of June? I guess. Yeah, end of June. So about a little over a month ago now.
Yeah, is it now? Because Golden Roads came out in 2023, so it's been about a year, right? So since your EP, how does it feel to finally get some new music out there and get it to the people?
You know, it feels great to put out the new music, and you know something about the putting out new music. You know, the recording process is always a little tedious. I'm sure other musicians will account for that as well. And you know, recording is tough. You know, and like I said, it gets a little tedious, but for the most part, it's exciting as well. And you know, I love the finished product. Same goes for the music videos. Shooting music videos it's a lot of work, and it's very exhausting, but it's a lot of fun at the end as well. We're really happy with the way everything came out, especially this time. And every time we go to the studio, I feel like we get a little better every single time as well. So that's always a good thing, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, the music video is great. It's awesome. It fits in perfectly with the style of song that you're doing. I love it. And is there a certain theme? Let's talk about the music video and how that all came about. Where'd you film it? And you know, is there a specific theme in this music video that you're trying to capture?
There was, and there is. You know, to start with, to answer your question, the music video, we shot it at a warehouse in LA. Super cool site, man. It was like we found the place. I'm like, yeah, this is it right here. This is what we want to do. So it's a warehouse out in LA. And then we went out to the mountains out in Switzer Falls. Now, I did have a concept in mind. Originally, we had this idea, you know, with this whole classic car thing that I wanted to do for a while, and with an actress as well. And that didn't pan out for whatever reason. But we still managed to do something exciting and that fit the storyline as well. The producer, Nick, came up with this plan. He had this idea. He's like, you know, let's just move forward with it. And I was like, yeah, man, I don't want to stop. I want to keep going, because it's you know, you're gonna like with anything that you do, you always come across a couple of hurdles, and I didn't want that to be one of them. So we moved forward, and it was like really long days of shooting and stuff, but it was exciting, and it was fun to do. It was fun, and I'm very happy with the way everything came out.
Now, was it your first music video that you've ever done, or did you do any music videos for your previous EPs?
Yeah, so we did shoot a video for the song "Going Home," which is off the first record, and that was sort of shot in a whim. We did it sort of somewhat last minute. We didn't really have a concept. We just invited a few friends over, had a jam session at a recording studio or at a rehearsal studio, and people brought a bunch of food over, brought a bunch of beers, and had a good time, and we just made a day out of it. And that's the way it went down. That's the way it happened. So that was the first video we ever shot for this project, for this band. And after that, we did American Slang with Gaslight cover. We're
gonna get into that, because I love that version of it, and I love the video too. And that's one of the things here on my notes that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, let's talk about the American Slang. Let's talk about that, and why you decided to cover the Gaslight anthem, because your music is very reminiscent of that sound and that Social Distortion sound. So it kind of melded well, you know, and you did a great job with it. And let's talk about that music video and that song and why you chose the cover.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So we are definitely, you got it right. We are definitely big Gaslight Anthem fans. And you know, it's this concept of doing the video and covering Gaslight Anthem songs started in 2020, because at the time, you know, we couldn't play out, we couldn't do any music. So it's this Facebook group called I believe Brian Fallon brought us together. So one of the members on there, he put it all together. He had this idea, because the Gaslight Anthem, or Brian Fallon at the very least, he always does these shows at Crossroads in New Jersey, and that year we couldn't do them. He couldn't do them, and so somebody had this idea and said, you know what, why don't we just do something as fans and have everybody cover songs of him, and then we'll do a YouTube stream. And
that's
what
cool,
started
yeah.
as a small concept, it was a great idea. It was that everybody's at home and everybody's, what can we do to play music? So he came up with this idea and put it out there in the group chat, and people were like super into it. So, and we had a date and a flyer and everything to stream on YouTube. So that was in 2020, and I did an acoustic song that time. So then they did it again in 21. And this time I was like, you know what? I want to get the band to do something. So we did that. And I was like, okay, we're going to do American slang. And it was supposed to be just a live jam session. But one thing led to another. My buddy Ricky brought his recording gear over to the studio, and we set up shop in the studio. He brought an old TV monitor. We used that as a screen. And it was just completely DIY. And something that people don't know, we actually did that song on GarageBand. We used GarageBand to record that song. So
did you really?
Yeah, we did. We tracked everything through GarageBand, and he killed it. He did a great job recording everything. We just spent, I think it was maybe like 2 days doing it. When I say 2 days, I mean like maybe about 6 hours or so, because we had one day was the first day was setting up, about an hour and a half, 2 hours setting up, and then just maybe an hour of trying to track it and perfect it on the drums. And then the rest of the next day we did guitars and bass and all that stuff. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And then I sent it to my buddy to get mixed as well. And he did all the mixing and all the mastering. And then, as the song was done, once the song was done, we said, okay, let's shoot a music video for it. Now we have to shoot a music video for it. So at that point, I called my friend Jerry, who's now in the band, because he had a camera with him, and he was like getting super into photography and videography and all that stuff. And he's like, yeah, I got a camera, I'll shoot it. So he brought his camera over and set up a couple lights in there, and we did it in one night. Again, just kind of made a night out of it, sort of hung out in the studio and partied all night and shot for a couple of hours, and it came out great. I'm super happy with that. Well, I think what the biggest thing about that is how small the concept was at the time, and into what it turned into later on. That was what made it big for me, at least. And of course, covering the Gaslight Anthem, it's in itself was always great. And we wanted to do something different, so we added a little break in the middle when we added the piano, the keys, and all that, just to separate it a little bit more from the original one. And I have to say that once we did put that online, I did get a reply from Alex from the Gaslight Anthem on it.
That was going to be my first question. Did you ever hear from Brian or any of the guys in the band about your version?
Yeah, I did. I think I got a like or something from Benny, and then Alex, bass player Alex, he sent me a DM. He's like, yo, this is like super cool vibe, man. This is like really
that's awesome.
Whatever. So that was super cool. A small claim to fame there. And they caught me to rivers and taught me to drive. I got your name tattooed inside of my arm. And I called for my father, but my father had died. Well, I knew certain fortunes in American slang.
And you were talking about 2020, and people are just looking for things to do. One of my favorite things to come out of the pandemic is having a lot of people come together and like virtually do bands and all that kind of stuff, and record the bass in one area, and everybody's all across the country, and they come together. Then there was other bands that would go into a studio or like a warehouse kind of a deal and just do a live stream, and you could watch them play like 2 or 3 albums right there in your living room. You're in a concert. And I thought that was like super awesome, and I didn't want that to go away. I want that still to be kind of a intimate kind of a thing, like almost like a pay-per-view, right? Just if you're gonna go and you want to hear your favorite album, you're gonna pay $20-$30 to stream it, and you can take requests online. I thought it was really such a great idea, and that's super cool. That was that.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. It was sort of a pay-per-view for music, and as being a musician myself, I understood, like the bigger guys streaming things like that. Like, can you imagine not? Well, I mean, you don't have to imagine, it did happen, right? Like people not being able to go to work, and especially like especially musicians who rely on travel, on touring and selling merchandise to be able to make a living. So any chance I got, I tried to contribute to that, because it was important to me. It was important to me to be able to watch music and play music at home. And I can imagine the musicians who live off that now that had difficulty doing so. So yeah, it was a great thing that I think brought people. We did, because I did a couple of those virtual performances as well with a couple of friends, and it brought people together to play music sometimes that you wouldn't always be playing, and you collaborated with different musicians, and it was a cool thing. Yeah, and part of me didn't want that to go away, but I was also ready to start playing live again. So
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's I couldn't imagine being a musician and having to go had to go through that and not being able to play anywhere for a certain amount of time. But there's a lot of bands that people that don't rest on their laurels, and they just keep on writing and keep on writing, and they come out and they have this full arsenal of stuff, and then they just keep on releasing music. And it's such a it's kind of it was a really bad thing. And hopefully things are getting, I mean, I know things are a lot better than they were now, but how do you see it in your eyes right now, as far as where it was in 2020 and where you're at now trying to put out a record? Is it a little bit of a breath of fresh air to be able to actually promote a record and people actually going to come see you?
I think it is a breath of fresh air, and it did impact, I think, in the music industry. It had a huge impact, obviously, on the music industry, but even just at a local level, when you started playing music again and started playing live, some people just weren't ready. Some people just weren't ready to come out to shows and be in public and things like that. Yeah. And which made it even more difficult as a local musician, even just trying to get people to come check out music. Like if it wasn't already a struggle with trying to sell you, like nobody buys CDs, right? Nobody buys CDs anymore. Hardly anybody comes to buy that off your table. But people were coming out, they were staying distant. They were staying distant and didn't want to come say hi, which is such a hard thing to do, because you rely on that sort of PR.
That's your business right there. Yeah.
Right. It's huge. And but slowly but surely it started to come back, luckily. So we're happy to be able to do that now. And luckily things are starting to resume to some sort of normalcy, if they haven't already, whatever normalcy was to begin with. So.
Right. And you're from Los Angeles, California, so normalcy is kind of a strange word out there, because I lived out there for a couple of years myself in the Valley. Cool. I lived in Van Nuys for a couple of years when I got out of college, and it's a different town over there. And you grew up there, correct? And whereabouts did you grow up in LA?
Huntington Park. Park. I like to enunciate that, because when I say it too quickly, people hear Highland Park or something. But I'm from Huntington Park. Yeah, I grew up in H, also known as HP, home of Slayer.
Oh, really? Slayer. They're from Huntington Park.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Huntington Park.
Oh, hell yeah.
Home of Slayer. A lot of people don't know that, and also not too long. I guess it's been a while now, but also the home of the music video for one of the world's most famous songs by one of the world's biggest rock bands. Can you guess who?
Aerosmith.
No, close, I guess, but it's gonna be it's Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
So this is the city where they shot the video for Sweet Child of Mine. Yeah,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so they shot it in Mendiola's Ballroom. It was called Mendiola's Ballroom back then. There's a story about it. It was a riot in, I think, like in 1983. It's like a punk riot or something. But that's the location. A lot of people don't know that it's the location for the Sweet Child of Mine music video. So
and that's funny, because it looks like it's downtown LA, and it's not. It's because Huntington Park is like, it's just south of downtown LA, right?
So it's southeast Los Angeles. Yeah, it's in southeast Los Angeles. Yeah, and it's a second story. It was in the second story, and now it's above a 99-cent store. I mean, obviously it's not, they don't use it anymore, but it was a 99-cent store, the last business.
Wow.
It was. So, yeah.
That'd be trippy to go there and see that. Like if you were like growing up in the 80s and that was like the place to go and see that, and now it's a dollar store, man. You just drive by there and you're just like, Man, this town was so much cooler.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, no. Every time I tell people, yeah, it's home Slayer, and this is where they shot the Sweet Child of My music. It's like, get out of here. And I was like, yeah, look it up, and it is. A lot of people
Dude,
don't know
that's
that.
awesome.
So, fun fact about HP.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, living in Los Angeles, I mean, there's music everywhere. A lot of, actors and music people go out there, because they're in the arts and all that kind of stuff. How does like being from there and not migrating out there, how does that affect your music and how you write, or does it at all? Are you telling, are some of your songs based on your life in LA? How does that town kind of shape you in the songwriting process?
So definitely, experience is always a huge motive when it comes to songwriting.
Yeah.
And one of the important things to say, I think, about growing up in the area is like we as a band, and something that I've always tried to instill in the guys that play with me, like despite what's going on in the scene at the time, we try to write music that's important to us. And
Yeah.
we have noticed, there was a big metal scene here as well, which was great when I was in high school as well. And then but there's also a big punk scene in LA. There's a huge punk scene in
Yeah.
LA. But despite the fact, I think that's what kind of separated us. And then this was good and this was bad. As far as genre goes, is kind of which we sort of separated us in a way that we weren't necessarily punk, but we weren't just like a rock band either. So I know we get the whole social D thing a lot, and which I take as a compliment because I do love social D.
Yeah.
But it didn't. I wouldn't say it affected our songwriting any different than it would have if I'd have grown up in a different area. Because, I guess the topics would have been a little different, but nonetheless, like I would have written about my personal experience. So the experience is going to be wherever you grow up, and just because it's experience, not necessarily because it's influenced on what's going on in the scene at the time. So
Sure.
yeah.
No, I mean that makes complete sense. No, you're speaking about the other guys in the band, the broadcasters. So when did they come into the scene? Are they a touring? Are they your touring partners? Are they recording and touring? Are they part of the band? How much effort did they have into the? I know that you're working on a new record that's coming out next year. I know this is the first time you've had a band, right? Because on the EP you pretty much recorded everything yourself, correct?
Yeah, that's right. First and foremost, they're my friends more than anything else.
Sure.
And I'm super happy to have them in the band. They are part of the band. I consider them part of the band, and we've had a discussion about this. And I know I've talked about this with some of my friends before as well. But I had no intention to play as Rudy Nuño. I wanted to have a band, and when I struggled to find musicians and people to work with at the time, I was like, screw it, I'm just going to do my own thing. And a buddy of mine, Will, who's from France, and I say that because he had just gotten here from France, and he was looking for somebody to play with. He said, I like what you're doing. I like your songs. And I just had a couple of scratch takes on acoustic for him to listen to. And he came and played drums for me, and he recorded. He was just strictly like recording and all that. Did a couple of shows with me as well, but he was pretty transparent with me. He was like, "I'm gonna help you out as much as I can, but these are my plans." So I was like, "Okay, cool, no problem. Thank you, for trusting me and giving me your time." So the guys that I have now have been in the band maybe a year. I think Jonathan, has been in there the longest. I think probably between these guys. And who's Jonathan, the drummer, and after that, Joe, the bass player, who started off on guitar, came in about a year ago. His first show with us was the record release show for the Golden Roads record. So, he was out of town. He was in San Francisco. So he's from the Bay. He's up in San Francisco for work or something. And then he made it down. He's like, I really want to join this band, and he's like, I really want to be part of this. So. He's like, what I got to do to make it work? I'm like, we can have you play. It's not a problem, but it would be great if you could do the record release show. So he had plans of his own, and he changed them, and he made it work. And he came back. Yeah, he came back on that Sunday for the record release show, and he played it. He said, yeah. And then a good funny story about Joe. He hit me up online. He said, hey, like, I saw you're looking for a guitar player or a bass player at the time. And and told me, you know what? I had the guy playing bass. Do you play anything else? And he's like, yeah, I play guitar. And then I was like, well, here, check out these songs and see if it's something you might want to learn. And sure enough, he went back and he learned. I asked him to learn 2 songs, and he got back to me about a day or 2 later. He's like, yeah, I just went ahead and learned the whole EP, man. So whatever you want to jam, and like, so which was great, right? Yeah, he learned the entire. And then I immediately text the rest of the hey, this guy says he knows the EP. And you know, when you're hunting musicians and auditioning guys, it's easy to be like, yeah, sure. You know, you get this often. They always say they're ready and then they don't show up, or they show up unprepared, which is something that has happened many times. So when I heard it from him, I was like, okay, well, let's see. And then he shows up. First of all, he showed up on time to his audition, and which is already huge for us. Yeah, showed up. He comes out of the car and he's got this big smile on his face, such a great attitude. And he's like, "What's up, man? I'm Joe." And I was like, "Okay, cool. He has a good attitude and everything." Takes out of the acoustic from his car, and then we go to the studio. And then he takes out his shiny, nicely polished Martin acoustic guitar. I'm like, okay.
All right. Number 2.
Yeah, this looks great. Sure enough, he started playing. He knew the songs better than I did. He's so good at it. I was like, wow, this guy really did his homework, and he really wants to be part of this band. And awesome. So he started playing with us, and down the line, the bass player position became available. And we had already had Jerry fill in a couple shows for us on guitar. So we already kind of knew, we had it in mind, like, oh, if we can get Jerry. And Joe was the one that was also like, if you can get Jerry to play guitar for us, then I will happily slide back over to bass, man, because I don't want this to stop. The train's moving, and we got something good going on, and I don't want us to change. So that's the lineup right now. Super happy.
That's awesome. And have they you were talking about, you have Serenity already out, and you have 2 more singles that are on the way by the end of the year, right? And now have you guys started recording this album, with the broadcasters? And how's that working?
Actually,
and kind of where you guys
everybody who's in the band now is on these singles so Jonathan played drums on all of them, and Joe actually played rhythm guitar, and did like a couple like octaves and things like that for us on the record. And then Jerry did a solo for Serenity. So he came in and knocked it out, because he had already been filling in and on guitar anyway. So we had some pieces like lying around that first so solo, and then one day we're like, let's work on this, let's lock it in. And since he's already playing with us, I asked him, you want to come in and see what you can do, a couple of things for us? And he's like, yeah. And then I asked him to come in for like the songs, and he ended up staying the whole time. He came back for a few days because he was having such a great time. And so to answer your question, everybody's in the band is on on the 3 singles that are being released this year. So everybody's on there, and I can't wait to have them back in the studio, because it's something that anytime we're in the same room, I can like truthfully say, like, without trying to sound too pretentious, though, it's something special does happen, and it's like everybody leaves everything at the door, and once we get in that room, I think we rehearse for maybe an hour or 2, but we're talking and hanging out the rest of the time for sure. It's just, it doesn't feel like practice, doesn't feel like work or a chore.
And that's what it's all about, right? I mean, you don't want to go in there. Yeah, I've talked to a whole bunch of bands, since I've started this podcast, and it one of those things that would be so like frustrating for me, and I'm sure you got to the point where like you said earlier, you're interviewing people and people are coming in, they're just kind of like showing up late, and you just want somebody that has the right compass as you do, and that's such a fickle business to be in, and weed out, and not necessarily just showing up, but like your personalities have to match all that kind of stuff, what you want your music to sound like, and coming together. And there's that one element where you can't even describe, right? To where you're harmonizing together, not physically, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like kind of on the same wavelength, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you know what? The biggest thing, and these guys, they're, like I said, they're my friends, and they trust me so much to a point where there's no bad idea. There's no idea that's too ridiculous. There's no idea that just sounds stupid. We try everything once, and we want to say something quick about Jonathan, the guy who's on drums, that plays drums for me. And he has such a good like open mind on everything. And a lot of times I think a lot of times when you play in your band or when you're playing music with other people, you have an idea or you have a vision for a song, or that you want it to sound a certain way, or you want it to change a certain part, and then you describe it, and it doesn't always necessarily come out the way you envisioned it. When that's okay, because sometimes it comes out better. But the thing with Jonathan, he is very open. I think he understands, like, okay, like explain it to me as best you can, because I know you hear it in a certain way, and I want to play it like that as much as possible, so that whatever vision you have of the song comes to light, which is great, which is super cool, because that makes him super flexible. But I also want him to inject some of his personality in there. And Jerry's the same way. He's like, okay, like I'll teach him a riff. I'll teach him a lead or something sometimes, and like a small lick that I have on guitar, and he'll learn it, but he'll practice it and he'll learn it until the point where we have it 100% locked in. It's not just teaching you the chords, teaching you the progressions and everything. We have to play it to the point where we're locked in. And sometimes that's not always the way that I wanted to do it, but it's a way that works for everyone, and that we're all happy with this. So like I said, super lucky to be playing with these guys for sure.
Yeah, no, you could tell that. Serenity. Speaking of guitar solos, you were talking about it earlier. That guitar solo in Serenity, I love it. And I was listening to Grease Stains, your first EP, and there's a hell of I forget the name of the song. There's a really killer guitar solo on there. I'm like, man, this guy has a solo on like, a whole bunch of, like, I love solos. And for some goddamn reason, everybody got rid of the guitar solos for like 10, 15 years. And now they're coming back, and I love them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I love hearing that, that change. And I hear that in Serenity, and it's just refreshing to hear those, those huge solos. So
thanks, Brad, because
kudos to your band members there.
Thank you, Brad. And just a quick note on the guitar soloing. I'm glad you say that, and I value that a lot, because I've said it before, I'm still learning on how to do leads and guitar solos, and I'm always trying to improve on that. And it's not something that I say that is definitely my strongest suit, but it is something that I try to dedicate a little bit of time to, especially on the first record. Since I was going in there by myself, I was like, okay, and I think a lot of guitar players will watch for this. You come up with a melody in your head, or you hum it, and then you try to emulate that on guitar. So I try to do that the best as possible. But now that I have Jerry, I can hum it to him like, this is what I hear. Can you figure this out? This is what I'm hearing now. Or he'll just have something on his own, which works out even better for us. So.
Yeah, no, I'd like to be in that room where you're like, hey, it sounds like, like how does that go?
Sometimes it's already on recording. Sometimes it's already on my phone. And I just like, this is what I hear. Like, but this is the bend I want, or this is what I'm hearing in my head. So can we figure this out? And yeah, sure enough, the right guys are in the room to be able to do that. So.
Yeah, I just picture myself trying to explain that to somebody, and be like, hey, it sounds like like, how the hell am I supposed to?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, make something out of this. It sounds.
And I mean, can you imagine us trying to tell the drummer out of tune? Like, can you make the tom sound more like this? Doom, doom, doom. Like, that's not how you're ever gonna figure that out, right? So
no. You're not. So I asked you a few notes in the pre-show interview, and one of the things that struck me is you played your first bar at 13, and I'm very curious how you got in there. Were you with your mom and dad, and they got you in there, and you're able to play? Where was it, and what were you doing?
It was in the city of Downey. It was the Stardust Bar, which I have a lot of history of playing that place. It was with my brother. My brother and I played together in a band when we were younger, and there was a bass player opportunity. They always struggle to find a bassist, and by that time, I was already playing guitar, but I just really wanted to be in a band too. And sure enough, I would go to the practices anyways, so I kind of knew some of the songs. So sooner than later, like long story short, I ended up being able to play in the band. So, but I had to go in there. I have to go in there, play the show, and then right out right after.
Yeah.
I could not hang out in there before. I could not
Yeah.
hang out after. It was walk straight to the stage, walk straight out right afterwards. That was it. Yeah, couldn't even really use the restroom or anything. It was just
Really?
but it was fun. It was fun, and I felt at that point, I felt at that age that there was a lot of people saying like, what's this kid doing up here? So, but after the show, it was, you know, lucky enough to get a couple words of appreciation. So that was fun. That was a fun time, definitely.
No, I mean, as a 13-year-old kid being able to play that, I mean, that's amazing. That's a great story. Now, is that where you kind of got your bug, or did you have the bug at an earlier age? When did you first start picking up? Did you pick up the guitar first, or was it a bass, or how young were you when you first got into music?
I was definitely like before then. I was definitely into music before then. I was for sure in elementary, because I remember taking my guitar to elementary school at one point, trying to play in front of my class. And my teachers like, all right, yeah, bring it. You know, we'll let you play. So definitely by the time I was in elementary, I was already into music. I was already into punk for sure. I was already into punk. Yeah, I was into punk for sure. Like some of my earliest memories of music is listening to like The Offspring, the Smash record by The Offspring for sure.
Yep.
You know, Green Day and stuff like that. That's apart from the stuff that I would hear at home, you know, the music at home. But I was into music super early for sure. And it felt good, man. It was something that I needed at that age. It felt right, you know. It felt like, oh yeah, like these guys get it, you know, these guys understand.
Right.
And it came at a right time. It was it was fast paced, it was aggressive. Like a lot of the music that I was into, it was fast. It was like the words, there was cursing involved. It was the outlet I needed at that age to be able to feel like I had some place that I could connect with, or some sort of community that I can connect with. And once I found it, it was like, okay, like this is where I need to be. And even then at that point, it was like, you know, as I got to middle school, some of the music started to change, because you know, you got some of the new metal coming around, which was cool, but it was just difficult for me to be able to play. So I was able to stick to like the punk stuff, because it only required me to learn a few chords. Yeah. That's not a jab on punk rock. That's not a jab on punk rock at all. Like I love that, you know, people can make a living off like being able to play 2-3 chords. I think that's incredible, you know. And you know, that was my introduction into guitar playing. And later on, I discovered songwriting, or what I thought songwriting was, until I got a little older.
Yeah. When was the what was the first what was your how old were you when you made your first song? You're like, okay, I started it from, you know, from A to B, and that's a complete song. And how did you feel after doing that?
I think I was in middle school. I had a couple like rough goes at a couple songs, but the song that I considered to be my first actual song might have been in high school, or at least one of my first songs was in high school. It was a song called "Blinded Heart." A couple of my high school buddies will remember it. It was and actually, I think one of the songs that's on the first record, "Shattered Dreams," that might have been one of my first songs on there.
Really?
Yeah, I think that was one of my first songs as well. But yeah, it was definitely in high school when I understood, okay, I need a verse and a chorus, at least I needed a verse and a chorus at least. And if possible, I can do some sort of change, because when I was listening to punk as a kid, there wasn't too many songs that had a bridge on them. So I didn't fully understand what that meant, or what that was in a song, but definitely needed a verse, definitely needed a chorus, and I understood what the two things were. So that was enough for me to start, you know, trying to dive into songwriting. So yeah.
And what do you love about music? I mean, obviously, like, you love the bands and you love this, but what kind of drives you to keep making more? What is it? Is it, you know, seeing, you know, having an idea and making it come to life? Is it is it the lyrics? Is it the music? Is it everything? What exactly about music that keeps you going and keeps you wanting to pursue it?
When I started getting into music, Well, let me first say that I really love playing live. I literally love being on the road and touring and all that stuff. But when I started playing music, I started playing music more to be heard than to be seen, because I just never adhered to being the center of attention on things. That's why I always played bass in most of the bands that I played in, because I was always a side guy, and I was comfortable doing backups and just being on the side, and I could get off stage, and a lot of the attention went towards the singer and then the guitar player up in front, the front man, and I was okay being away from that. So the biggest thing for me in music, there was just no judgment. And when I discovered songwriting, I felt comfortable expressing myself without the risk of being judged in any way, because at least if nobody heard the song, at least I felt good singing and writing about it, and I could just sit in my room and express myself in a way that if nobody understood it, I at least did. And that was important to me at the time, because it was difficult for others to understand the relationship I had with music, especially at an early age, because a lot of people want to be like, professional baseball players or doctors and things like that, which is great. And try going through elementary or middle school and high school and still trying to tell people, well, I feel most comfortable when I have my guitar. I feel most comfortable. And I don't think we don't necessarily, I'm not aiming particularly to be the most famous or like the richest musician particularly. I just want to be able to say that this is what I do because this is what feels good for me. And if other people can have some sort of connectivity to it, then that's great. But I also want people to look back and be like, wow, like this guy, this band was good, man. This was a great band. Yeah. This was a great songwriting band, and their lyrics really had an impact on me. So if we can spread some sort of positivity through that, then I think that's pretty much what I would like to define as success. So.
That's a great perspective to have. You know what I mean? Like you're going out, you're doing it for yourself. You're writing these music for yourself. If people don't get it, they don't get it. If they do, even better. At least you went down trying and doing your thing, and that's what it's all about. And not trying to overcompensate for yourself or whatnot or those around you, all that kind of stuff. And your heart's in the right place, man. And that's that creates longevity when you have that kind of attitude. At least in my opinion. And that kind of leads me to my next question is, with all the music you've been doing, the 2 EPs that you have, and then this new song Serenity, you got signed this year to FUMIE Records. How did you get hooked up with the guys and gals over there at FUMIE Records?
With FUMIE Records, I think if I remember correctly, I think they were eyeballing since last year, and I think I received an email saying, hey, like we've been watching you, we've been keeping up with you, we've been listening, we would listen to your record, and we're interested in maybe doing something with you down the line. And I've been lucky enough in the past to receive a couple similar emails, not necessarily like the ones that I received from them, but a few other similar messages and emails, but to the point where it's just like, I don't know if it's just a marketing scheme or whatnot. So when I see stuff like that, sometimes I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. Always with an open mind, but I always think like, okay, sure,
Like they're catfishing you.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. So in this case, I think they were eyeballing since last year, since 23, and they were following up. It's like, hey, we like what you're doing. We heard your music. We were listening to your stuff, and we've been following you for some time now. And I was like, okay, great. We want to work with you. Would you be interested? Basically, indirectly and more politely said, we like what you're doing, and it's cool, but geez, man, you need to work on this, on your social media, on this and this and that. Yeah. And we need to fix it. We need to get those numbers up. We need to get you, you need to be, you're here, you need to be up here. And we know how to do that for you. But in a really great way. And that's what drew me most towards FUMIE Records was the relationship that I had with the circle that we have there, and I trust them. And they're really good people, and I think the cherry on top was our show at the Tiki Bar earlier this year for the Jack Knight's record release show.
Oh
they
yeah,
were
yeah. I want to talk to you about the Jackknives because I know you're going on tour with them too. But and they're on FUMIE Records as well. So yeah,
yeah. So I think the cherry on top was that show because it was just a great night. It was such a good show, and I think if I had to place us at a peak performance, that was definitely peak performance there. And they were there, and they were like, yeah, this, you know, you need to be here with us. There's a certain criteria, there's a certain standard, and a certain sound, image, and everything that we look for, and you're our guy. And they were gracious enough to host me for a couple meetings, and very, very courteous in what they had to say and everything they had to offer. And like I said, I love them, and I trust them fully. So I'm happy with everything they've done for us so far. So
well, that's super awesome. And you know, you feel like at home, and you got to trust that, you know, the people with your work, you know what I mean? And getting your name out there. That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, you did and another video I want to talk about before I forget, because speaking of the Jackknives, you and Cy from the Jackknives did a song called "The Short Goodbye" off their debut record, and it's kind of like a solo breakdown kind of stuff, and I love it. I told Cy, man, I just love the quality, the sound of that video, and the sound of that song. It's like it's top notch. And how was it recording that? And is it weird having, you know, two guys singing or having two frontmen and playing guitar kind of a deal? And what's that kind of experience like for for you guys? It's not weird when you're playing with the right people, you know, when the right guys. Yeah. Sometimes it's sometimes two musicians are just not compatible with each other, and that's okay, because sometimes the sounds and the styles are different. But in this case, it was as smooth as it could have been. Just to mention about that song, it was a song that Simon he had the song written, and he said, you want to come do the backups on our record? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I met him up. He's like, I have this song, I want you to sing in it. And we went over the lyrics and made a couple changes, very, very minor changes. And then we recorded it then and there in the studio the first time for the record. Now the video, he had another idea to do. He's like, I want to shoot a video for it. And that one, we had a little bit more time to kind of rehearse. And when I say a little more time to rehearse, I mean, we still got together like the day before. It's not like we had it. It's not like we planned, right? You're not waiting it out for like months and months and changing things and changing the bridge and all that kind of shit. Yeah.
No, none of that. We still got together like a day or two. People were like, you know what? We should probably go over the song if we want to redo it. So we went over to Riff's studio, Riff Audio, who's a tremendous engineer. My God, that guy's really, really good at what he does. We went out to his studio out in was it Burbank, I think, and we did it. We shot it there, and then again, Nick Riggs shot the video, and Riff engineered it. And you're right about the sound; it just sounds amazing, man. It was super happy with it, and we just did a couple takes, and then I think Simon did one, and then Simon did one of his songs. So and it was great. I'm super happy. And I didn't even realize until like, I think Simon said, Short Goodbye has 10,000 views on YouTube. I was like, what are you talking about? The song's been out for like 2 weeks. He's like, yeah, it's got 10,000 views on YouTube.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And there's a live version of that song, or a band version of that song that they do that is nothing like the acoustic song. So if you ever go out to a Jackknife show and they play that song, it's nothing like the acoustic version. It's just a super upbeat, fast-paced punk rock song, and which is great to see. They don't have very many songs that are that many BPMs high, so that's a fun one to do live for sure.
The melody sways from Casey's bar. The jukebox hums over 6 string guitars, but it's alright. It's alright. Heavy is the crown on a working soul, but baby, there's hope in this rock and roll, 'cause it's alright. It'll be alright. So let's sing tonight. We've been running all our lives, so all that we left behind, stuck between the madness and the grind. We can leave this town tonight, letting go of all those lies, and we'll play our favorite songs, think of better days yet to come.
Hey, I had Sai and the rest of the guys on an earlier podcast, and really love talking to those guys. And it seems like, you guys are going, on the Resistance tour, and having you guys on the same bill, in September, October, having you guys on the same bill is incredible. But what really drew me too is that I saw that you guys are playing for the FUMIE Foundation launch party. It's going to be you and the Jackknives and Taken Days, who we've also had on the on the podcast, and that's some good company right there. What exactly is the FUMIE Foundation? I was just curious.
FUMIE Foundation. I'm sure the team would be best suited to answer that question. But
no worries. I was just curious, but because I
but
like,
no,
I know
no,
it's FUMIE Records.
Just to tell you a little bit about it. That foundation, and it puts instruments in kids' hands for sure.
Awesome.
And it points them in just the short version that it helps put instruments in kids' hands and it instills the music in them and points them in the right direction, because music unfortunately hasn't been a topic or subject in schools, so I've heard and learned recently. I don't know if it's due to funding or what the reason for that is, but FUMIE Records is really, really laying down the groundwork to be able to do that and put some instruments in kids' hands and make sure that they have that as an option, because when I was growing up, we didn't have that in elementary school particularly, and if it was, you were restricted to certain things, which is okay sometimes, because then at least you have the option to. So we want to make sure that is available to kids these days for sure. So
I wanted to get past the recorder. I think schools need to take the recorder out of schools. That flute or whatever, the long thing. It's been in the school system for about 80 to 100 years. My daughter came home with she was in 4th or 5th grade at the time. She's now in 6th, but she came home with a big long recorder, and it was nice and colorful, but it still made that annoying sound. She's like playing it in a room. I'm like, God damn, just give her a guitar or something. I'm trying to convince her. I was like, I'll take you to Sam Ash. I'll take you to freaking Guitar Center.
Right.
Like, no,
right.
I like it, and but I mean that's such a great thing to do is put instruments in kids' hands.
Absolutely.
And stuff. I wish somebody would have did that for me. My mom tried to make me learn piano, and I stuck with it for probably about a month and a half. And I still remember chords, but
can you play piano?
I know chords. See, here's the thing: is I know chords, and I know how to go up and down the keys. So I pretend like I know what I'm doing, and people will just floor, how do you do it? Because I can move my fingers, but I'm just hitting chords, and I make things up, and they think it's actually a real song, but I don't know anything. I know how to play Chariots of Fire. Cool. And I think that's it. But I tried to self-teach myself a little while ago when I moved to Atlanta for a couple of years. My mother-in-law gave me a piano because she knew I grew up on piano, and my uncle's a musician back in the 70s. He had a whole bunch of hits in the 70s, and I grew up with my dad playing piano and his two brothers, playing. So that was the instrument in my family. Christmas time, Thanksgiving, when everybody would come in, everybody would get drunk and play the piano, and I'd sit there and watch my uncles just get drunk and just sing and dance and all that kind of stuff. So
that's how a lot of kids get into music sometimes. They just have that uncle or something, or some weird relative sometimes that listens to that music, and sometimes that's all it takes. So
yeah, my uncle Stu Nunnery. Look him up on Spotify. He was kind of he actually wrote the song for Disney for their parade in Disney World. He wrote the theme song that that they play on Main Street when they do the parade every year.
No way.
My uncle wrote that main song. Yeah, so he was
that's huge.
Very accomplished musician back in the day, and he actually re-released his old record with a couple new songs. I mean, he's in the 70s now, but he's still doing it. Man. He's still playing piano and still doing it, man. And
awesome.
And loves it. But no, that's awesome. And the Jackknives are really good people. The Taken Days are really great people. So that's going to be one hell of a show. And I wish it wasn't so far away, because I would fly out there and come see it. But
well, maybe we'll have to come through your town someday so you can come watch.
So speaking of which, so you guys going to go to California and New York and Connecticut, I see, on the Resistance tour. But what's the kind of I mean, is it too early to tell as far as towns that you want to go, or go to the Southeast or go to the Midwest, or do you have plans on doing that right now, or are you just trying to get this record done and then see kind of where everything lays after that?
We do want to get this record going, but I don't know if it might be too soon to talk about it. But we're trying to do something abroad next year, so we're trying to get out of get out of the U.S. I don't know, and when I say get out of the U.S., I mean like further than like Mexico, Canada. We're trying to maybe do something in Europe or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it may not happen, but we're trying. We're working on it. But as far as being here in the States, FUMIE Records does a great job of like letting us, with all the analytics and saying, you should go play this town. I think you have a good reception here because this is what's happening with your music. And so we're first off, we're going to San Francisco in September. So that was a good show we had earlier in the year. So we're coming back this year. We had a great reception last time, so we're super excited to be able to go back there. And then as far as New York, I know the Jackknives had an excellent show earlier this year, so they're expecting to have some similar. And we've actually had a few messages of people like, "Hey, I discovered your music. I'm coming to your show in New York." So we're super excited to be able to do that. From there, we're going to Connecticut. But as far as other towns, like I said, we do want to hit the big cities. We have a few people in Texas that want us to come play out there. So we're trying to get out to Texas, and then we want to do Seattle. We were trying to do Seattle this year as well, but it didn't pan out for us. We would do Seattle, maybe do like an Oregon, Seattle thing, maybe Chicago, all the bigger towns. But as far as like branching out, we are trying to get to Europe hopefully next year in 25. So, and by then we should have a record for everyone, a full length record by then, hopefully, and vinyl. So something to look forward to.
Well, I'll be waiting patiently for it. But I'm super excited for you and the future of Rudy Nuño and the Broadcasters. What's next? Like I said, you got a couple more singles. When's the next single going to drop? Can you give a little preview of, not preview, but tell us when we can expect a new song from you guys? Yeah,
so I think the release date for the next single is going to be September 6th. I think it's a Friday, September 6th. It's a song called Talking Tales. So I'm sending you a clip of it so you can take a listen to it, and then share it on your podcast. It'll be the first time anybody really hears any of that. So I'm actually going to play it here in a second. But yeah, absolutely, for sure. I appreciate you sending that to me. That's the second of the 3 songs that we plan to release this year. Serenity being the first. This will be the second, and then somewhere down the line this year will be the third one before. And by then we should be tracking the new music to hopefully have it released by next year. So something to look forward to. And then, every time we write something, every time we go into the studio, we discover something new about ourselves, or some sort of writing style or a style of music that we have opened up with. So especially this song, for example, that's coming out, Talking Tales. Everybody heard Serenity. I don't know if that's the expectation that everybody's going to have something similar to that. Right. But this song is a little bit slower than that, so I hope they're not expecting something as fast. But this song is a little bit slower. It's different than Serenity, but nonetheless, it's something that we're proud of the work we did. So.
Deadlands last night. Now I wish you were around for the ride. My voice started trembling as I started fumbling my speech. Then photos we took out by the lighthouse, I can't convince myself to throw away. But I'm losing all hope, cause them vultures miscope me, I swear. We could leave the town where distance is measured by time and go out dancing in the rain.
I hope everybody enjoys it, and as much as they did Serenity, because and I want to say a quick thank you to everybody who streamed it and yourself for talking about it, and everybody who shared it. The feedback on it and the numbers have been absolutely remarkable. It's probably one of the proudest songs that I've ever written and put out. So I'm really happy that it's doing well. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. It's no, it's an absolute honor to be able to talk to you about it and pick your brain about, what's going on with you and the future of you and your band. And man, I wish all the best for you. Keep me posted on everything. Where can people find out more about you other than just social media? Do you have a website people can go and check out?
I do, and it's very simple. It's just rudynuño.com. You can find all the tour dates and then the music, all the links to the YouTube and social media as well, if everybody has it. And I think there's a store that's being worked on right now, so people can purchase like
Sweet.
any merch available as well. Which, by the way, Brad, I'm going to text you afterwards. I'm going to send you a bundle. I'm going to text
Oh
you.
man, thank you. That's very nice of you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. So I'll text you in a bit, and then we'll get that bundle out to you, so you can.
I appreciate
rock
it.
on your next podcast or something.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. No, absolutely. I try. I'm running out of shirts because I've done 26 episodes, and I'm like, okay, well, I wore that shirt already. I already wore that shirt. So I'm like, it's all planned out, but I'm running out of shirts. So yeah, if you want to send me stuff, please do. I'll be more than happy
I definitely get that stuff
to
out
wear
you.
it on the podcast.
Yeah, and I watched some of your episodes as well, Brad. So it's not, thanks for having me, but thanks for doing this, because it's important that local musicians have a platform to talk about their plans and everything they're doing, because it's, I think sure, like COVID gave this sort of an opportunity because everything was done remote, but
Right.
nonetheless, it's difficult to get on podcasts sometimes like this. So I appreciate you hitting me up and putting local musicians on the map, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, man. You had your music with the pandemic. I had a second coming to where I was out of radio for many years now, but the pandemic, I needed to do something because that love for music and for independent artists, has always been in my blood in discovering new music, not just what it was being thrown down our throats on radio or on TV, all that kind of stuff. I love the hunt of a new band or a new song. So when 2020 hit, I was like, you know what, this is what I need to do. I need to get off my ass and get back into it. And I'm meeting people like you. It's been well worth it so far. But I'm so super appreciative to you for wanting to be on the podcast, and we'll get you on when that new record comes out next year, and we'll celebrate together and have a cold beer and dive deep into it. Sound good?
Let's do it. Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you enjoy the new song, man. I hope everybody's happy with everything that we put out, because we put a lot of work into it. So we're hoping to be able to go to as many places as possible. If not this year, for sure by the next year. So it's something to look forward to. And if, we're always open to people sending us messages like, hey, come here. We're taking notes. If people are like, you should come play here, you should come play here, we're taking notes. We're writing it all down. Okay, we want to come play here whenever we have a chance. So to try to spread it out as much as possible. I know a lot of it's online now, but we do love playing. We do love jumping in the van and traveling to places we haven't been to. It's the greatest adventure. So we're going to keep
come to the East Coast, man. We got beaches over here too. We don't got the mountains, but we got beaches.
Yeah, we're going to do it. Let's do it. We'll do it. Definitely. Yeah. We'll have an in-person interview or something next time.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm excited. All right. Rudy Nuño, thank you so much, man. Appreciate your time. Best of luck to you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, brother. Thank you, man. I'll talk to you soon.